When three bullies tried to corner Zaire behind the gym, they thought they had the upper hand. But before they knew it, one of them was on the ground, and the others realized they had picked the wrong guy to mess with. Nobody really noticed when Zaire Quinn first walked through the doors of Millstone High in Lansing, Michigan. No fanfare, no whispers of curiosity, just another transfer student slipping in halfway through the semester. His backpack was worn, his hoodie faded, and he carried himself with that quiet kind of confidence, like someone who knew exactly how to keep to himself without drawing attention. But that's silence. It wasn't weakness. It was survival. Before we dive into the full story, here's a question for you. Why do some people feel the need to target others in school? Drop your thoughts in the comments and let us know where you're watching from. It was a cold Monday. Snow slush still lined the sidewalk, and the morning bell rang sharp through the halls. Zaire paused at his locker, eyes scanning the names and faces rushing past. He wasn't scared. He just knew the routine. Find your classes, don't make waves, keep to yourself. Inside the first period math class, a few students glanced over when he walked in. A girl in the corner whispered something behind her hand. The teacher smiled, motioned toward an empty desk near the back, and moved on. No introduction, no curiosity, just silence. Zaire didn't mind. He'd learned silence wasn't always bad. In Detroit, where he came from, it often meant safety. He didn't wear flashy clothes, didn't show off on purpose. His uncle called it moving invisible, something you learned in certain neighborhoods where attention could get you jumped or worse. But Millstone High wasn't Detroit. It was polished. The kids wore name-brand everything. Their haircuts looked like appointments. Their laughs were loud and confident, and they moved like they owned the floor. No one outright said anything to Zaire, but he saw the way some looked at his shoes. How a kid in gym class glanced at his second-hand hoodie like it had stains on it. He ate lunch alone on the third day, at a table near the back of the cafeteria. Tray of spaghetti, banana, and a chocolate milk. Simple, quiet. He chewed slow, watching, listening. That's when he heard the laugh. "Yo, what is that? You bring that from home or something?" Zaire looked up. A tall white boy in a varsity jacket stood a few feet away, smirking. That was Kai Donovan, football co-captain, star tight end, and self-declared king of the junior class. He had two other guys flanking him, both grinning like they were in on a private joke. Zaire didn't respond. "Man's eating like it's the Great Depression," Kai added, loud enough for the nearby tables to hear. Laughter not all joined in, but enough did. Zaire kept eating, eyes down. He didn't want trouble. Not now. One of Kai's friends, a short kid with a crew cut, leaned over. "You hear me, man? You deaf or just slow?" Zaire looked at him, just for a second. Then he blinked, grabbed his milk, and stood up. "I'm done." He walked away. No insults, no scene. Just left the tray and moved toward the hallway. It didn't stop there. Later that afternoon, someone shoved his books off the desk in science class. No one claimed it. The teacher didn't notice. Then after school, someone wrote "charity case" in dry erase marker across his locker. It wiped off easy, but it left a mark. Zaire went home quiet that night, took the number 112 bus to the edge of town where his uncle's gym sat behind a tire shop. Inside, the smell of sweat and leather hit his nose before the bell even chimed above the door. Uncle Marcus looked up from wrapping someone's hands. "You all right?" "Yeah," Zaire muttered. "Just school." Marcus didn't press. He nodded once, then gestured to the mats. "Let it out. That's what they're for." Zaire didn't say a word, just changed, stepped on the mat, and hit the pads like they'd said something personal. Hooks, counters, pivots, clean, fast, focused. He didn't need to brag about what he could do. He just needed to remember who taught him to never let anger lead. But one small act in the cafeteria sets off a chain Zaire never meant to pull. The cafeteria moment should have been nothing. A dumb joke, a quick jab, one of those things people forget by next period. But for Kai Donovan, it wasn't about the joke. It was about the reaction, or the lack of one. Zaire hadn't looked scared. He hadn't flinched. He just left. And that made Kai itch. By Friday, Zaire's name was bouncing around the locker rooms. "The new kid's got an attitude," someone said. "Doesn't talk, just stares." They said it like it was a crime. In gym class, Zaire got paired with Kai for basketball drills. The coach barked out pairings and the boys lined up. Zaire didn't blink when Kai tossed the ball at his chest a little too hard. Come on, Quinn, show me what you got. Zaire bounced the ball once, twice. We just passing, right? Yeah, just passing. Kai faked a casual stance. But when Zaire passed it back, he snapped the ball like a pitcher to Kai's chest. Dead on. It echoed. Kai blinked. The other boys snickered. Dang, someone muttered. Kai gave a tight smile. All right, cool. That was the moment he decided he didn't like Zaire. After that, it got pettier. Snide remarks in the hallway. Gum stuck in Zaire's locker. One time someone tripped him near the vending machines. Zaire never responded, never snitched. He just kept moving. But silence in a place like Millstone? That was gasoline. And Kai had a lighter. Lunchtime became a stage. Kai would throw loud jokes Zaire's way from across the room. You from Detroit, right? You bring your bulletproof vest or leave it at home. The table laughed. Some kids looked uncomfortable, but no one said anything. Zaire stared at his sandwich. One of the guys at Kai's table, Alden Moss, leaned over. Dude, I think he might actually be crazy. Look at him, doesn't even blink. He's not crazy, Kai replied, loud enough to carry. He's just another hood story waiting to happen. That one got under Zaire's skin. After school, he walked a little faster to the bus stop. He knew how things escalated. He'd seen it, been around it. But this time, it felt personal. At home, Uncle Marcus noticed the tension in Zaire's jaw. You holding something back? Zaire nodded slowly, trying to. Marcus set down his coffee. Sometimes holding back is harder than swinging. You know what I mean? Yeah. You're not there to teach anyone a lesson. You're there to graduate, to build something, I know. Marcus looked at him for a long moment. But if someone backs you into a corner, you don't let them walk over you either. Zaire didn't answer. He didn't have to. Back at school, the rumors shifted. A new narrative started floating. That Zaire had a record. That he'd been kicked out of his old school. That he'd fought a teacher in 8th grade. None of it was true, but no one cared. In history class, Kai leaned over from behind. You ever seen a real fight, Quinn? Zaire didn't turn around. Yeah, I mean up close. Not on TV. Blood on the floor kind. Zaire finally glanced over his shoulder. You don't want that kind, Kai smirked. Is that a threat? It's a warning. That smile faded just a little. But the next day, Kai made a choice. He caught Zaire outside the gym after 6th period. Zaire had headphones in, walking toward the back parking lot where the late buses waited. Kai and 2 of his friends followed quietly. Yo, Quinn! Zaire turned, pulling out an earbud. You think you're tough? Number. You act like it. I act like I want to be left alone. You don't get to choose that. Zaire's shoulders tensed. You done? Kai took one step closer. Not yet. The bell rang behind them, and the hallway spilled out with noise. But this moment stayed frozen. But Kai doesn't know he's pressing on something that's been trained not to snap, but strike. The next day was a Friday. Cold wind cut across the Millstone parking lot as students rushed to their buses or rides. Zaire stayed behind, helping Mr. Ortiz, the custodian, with stacking some old desks near the side exit. He wasn't trying to impress anyone. He just didn't want to be in the crowd. But Kai had planned it that way. By the time Zaire came around the back of the gym, the lot had mostly cleared. Just a few cars, no teachers in sight. Kai stood near the dumpsters with Alden and Jace. All 3 had that fake casual posture, hands in pockets like they were just hanging out, waiting. Zaire spotted them and kept walking. His backpack hung over one shoulder. His pace didn't change. Hey, Kai called. Zaire stopped about 10 feet away. What? You think you're smart or something? Just ignoring me every time I speak? I didn't come here for you. Kai took a step closer. You didn't come here at all. You got dropped here. Zaire narrowed his eyes. What do you want? Alden circled to the side. Slow. Jace leaned back, chewing gum like he wasn't in the middle of something wrong. I want to know what makes you so special, Kai said. You act like you're better than everyone, sitting by yourself, staring at people. I'm just minding my business. No, you're disrespecting mine. Zaire looked at him square. You got something to prove. Prove it. That's when Alden made his move, rushed in with a quick shove to Zaire's chest. It wasn't clean. It wasn't practiced. Just aggression. Zaire didn't budge. He didn't swing. Back up, he said, voice low. Kai laughed. Go on, Alden. Alden moved again, this time with a wild punch aimed at Zaire's shoulder. It didn't connect, because Zaire had already stepped inside his range. One twist, one sweep. Alden hit the pavement with a smack that echoed. What the? Jace started, but he didn't finish the sentence. Zaire turned, eyes on Kai. Don't. But Kai couldn't stop now. He lunged, aiming high, thinking his size would carry the hit. But size didn't matter here. Zaire slipped under the punch, pivoted, and dropped his elbow into Kai's ribs with just enough pressure to send him staggering. Jace backed off. Yo, chill, man. It lasted maybe 12 seconds. Kai was on the ground, one knee down, breathing hard. Alden sat against the dumpster, eyes wide. Jace had his hands up like he'd just watched a stranger flip a car. Zaire didn't gloat. He didn't taunt. He just stood there. That's when Mr. Calder, the assistant principal, rounded the corner. What's going on here? Kai scrambled to his feet. He jumped us. Zaire looked at him. You serious? I didn't do nothing, man. He's crazy. Mr. Calder glanced at Zaire, then at the others. He didn't see blood. No black eyes, just tension and fear, but not the kind he expected. Zaire's hands were still, his breath steady. He looked more composed than any of them. Come with me, Calder said. They walked to the office in silence. No one said a word. In the waiting room, Zaire sat across from Kai. Alden had already called his dad. Jace said nothing at all. Kai kept muttering under his breath. He's dead. He's done. Zaire didn't even look his way. Inside the principal's office, Mr. Calder stared at Zaire long and hard. Want to tell me what happened? Zaire did. Calm, straightforward. No lies, no sugarcoating. Calder listened. Then he leaned back and said, You're lucky no one's bleeding. Zaire didn't respond. You know we have a zero-tolerance policy, right? I didn't start it. Calder sighed. Doesn't matter who starts it. What matters is who finishes it. Zaire stared at the desk. Then maybe you should talk to the ones who never tried to stop it. Calder blinked. For a moment, just a breath, he didn't know what to say. But when the dust settles and a teacher shows up, Zaire's not walking away a hero. By Monday, everyone at Millstone High knew. The fight had exploded into whispers and sideways glances. Zaire couldn't walk down a hallway without someone stepping aside. Not out of respect, out of wariness. He wasn't the quiet new kid anymore. He was something else now. Something to watch. In first period, the guy who used to sit behind him moved to a different seat. During lunch, no one said anything when Zaire walked in. No jokes, no comments, just silence. But that silence felt louder than anything. He took his usual seat in the back, sat down his tray, and ate alone. Same as before. But now it was different. Now they weren't ignoring him. They were avoiding him. Across the room, Kai sat at a crowded table, retelling the story like he was the victim. Dude psycho, Kai said. Came at us like it was a movie scene. Kicked Alden's legs out like he's Bruce Lee or something. Nobody does that unless they've been in real fights. Jace kept quiet. Alden didn't show up that day. One girl at the table raised an eyebrow. But you guys surrounded him, right? Kai snapped back. Nah, we were just talking. He flipped out. She didn't believe him, but she didn't push it. In gym class, Zaire didn't get paired with anyone. Coach Thompson just told him to shadow drills today. No reason, no warning, just instructions. Zaire didn't argue. After school, he didn't go to the gym. He took the long route home instead, walking past the corner store, then cutting through an alley he hadn't used since he moved. He needed time, space, a place to think. At home, Uncle Marcus sat watching a replay of some old UFC fight. Zaire dropped his bag by the door and slumped onto the couch. Rough day, Marcus asked. People act different now. You thought they'd be grateful. No, I just didn't think they'd look at me like I'm dangerous. Marcus turned off the TV. Listen, when you defend yourself and win, people see strength. And strength scares the weak, especially the loud ones. Zaire stared at the floor. I didn't even go hard, I held back. I know you did, but they don't care because you exposed something in that boy, and he ain't ready to live with it. What do I do now? You keep your head. You remember why you're there. Zaire didn't answer, because deep down, part of him wished he had gone harder. At school, things only got stranger. A couple teachers gave him those long, thoughtful looks. One guidance counselor even called him in for a check-in. I just want to make sure you're adjusting, she said. I know transferring mid-year can be hard. Zaire nodded. She smiled too tightly. Do you ever feel angry? He stared at her. Why? No reason, just checking. He got up and walked out before she could finish her next sentence. That night, a post showed up on social media. A blurry photo of the fight behind the gym. The caption said, "He thinks he's in a movie. Scared yet?" It was posted from Kai's burner account. The comments were mixed. Yo, he dropped Alden like a sack of bricks. Don't mess with that dude. Nah, something's wrong with him. Why was he even here if he's gonna act like that? Zaire read through every word, not once, not twice, but enough to feel something tighten in his chest. He wasn't ashamed of what he did, but now the story was no longer his. The next morning he walked into school and saw two security officers standing by the main entrance. They weren't always there. In homeroom, the principal's voice crackled over the loudspeaker. All students involved in last week's altercation are currently under review. A formal hearing will be held this Thursday. Zaire didn't react. He just stared straight ahead. A hearing. Now they were making it official. But the storm isn't over. Not until Kai tries to rewrite the story. Kai Donovan wasn't used to losing, not on the field, not in class, and definitely not in front of a crowd. That fight behind the gym bruised more than his ribs. It bruised his image. And for a guy like Kai, that was worse than any hit. So he did what people like him always do when they lose control. He lied. It started with whispers to teachers, casual comments about feeling unsafe around Zaire. Then came the rumors. Zaire had been kicked out of 2 schools before Millstone. He'd once broken someone's nose in middle school. He carried a knife in his backpack. None of it true. None of it challenged. The video Kai posted kept getting shared. It was grainy and short, cut just before Alden swung first. But in those clipped seconds, Zaire looked like the aggressor. Calm, calculated, dangerous. Kai added captions. Watch how he moves. That's not normal. He added hashtags. True Millstone threat mapper shouldn't be here. The comments took a darker turn. He's not like us. Bet he learned that in juvie. Expel him before something worse happens. Zaire saw it all. He didn't reply. He didn't post a defense. But silence has a cost, too. That Tuesday, his mom got a call from the school. By Wednesday, a formal hearing was scheduled with the district office. Zaire would need to appear, with a parent or guardian. Marcus took the day off work. Inside the conference room, the walls were plain. A big rectangular table sat in the center. On one side, the principal, Mr. Calder, a school board member and the head of student discipline. On the other, Zaire, Marcus, and a folder full of statements Marcus had made. Zaire write down in case things went south. Kai wasn't there. He didn't need to be. His story was already floating in the room. Calder cleared his throat. We've had several concerns raised by students, faculty, and parents. It's our responsibility to determine whether Zaire Quinn poses an ongoing safety threat to the student body. Marcus leaned forward. My nephew's not a threat. He's trained in self-defense. He didn't go looking for a fight. He tried to walk away. He gave them a warning. The board member glanced over his glasses. Is it true he has combat training? Marcus didn't flinch. Yes, but training don't mean violence. It means control. It means knowing how to not hurt someone, one of the assistant principals spoke up. There's a video circulating. We don't see what starts the altercation, but... Of course you don't, Marcus interrupted. Because it's edited, they went quiet. Zaire finally spoke. They came after me. I didn't swing first. I didn't even want to be there. And yet, the board member said, tapping the folder in front of him, we have reports of you being involved in an act of physical aggression. So what should I have done? Zaire asked, calm but firm. Let them beat me. Silence again. Marcus sat back. This ain't just about a fight. It's about what you think my nephew is. You saw a big, quiet black boy who defended himself and assumed he must be the problem. Calder looked uneasy. The board member scribbled something on his notepad. The decision was delayed. They needed more time. Outside, Marcus exhaled slow. You did good. Doesn't feel like it. They heard you. Might not admit it, but they did. That night, Zaire didn't eat much. He sat on the back steps looking up at the sky. Everything felt upside down. He did the right thing. And somehow, he was still the one under fire. He wondered if there was even a right way to be. But the real turning point comes from someone Zaire least expects. Thursday morning was stiff with tension. The hearing decision hadn't come down yet, but everyone at Millstone walked like it already had. Zaire could feel it the moment he stepped inside. He wasn't a student anymore. He was a subject, a rumor in sneakers. He moved through the hallway like fog, present but untouched. Some students stared, some whispered, others just looked away. By lunch, the usual table in the back felt colder than normal. Zaire picked at his food. He was halfway through his apple when someone slid into the seat across from him. A white girl with short auburn hair and big glasses. Quiet. Zaire recognized her from a couple classes. Always had a sketch pad. Always kept to herself. Her name was Iris Clark. She didn't say hello. She leaned in and whispered. I saw everything. Zaire blinked. What? Behind the gym, I was there. I didn't mean to be. I was sketching the dumpsters for a project. I stayed quiet because I didn't want to get dragged into it, but this hearing's not right. Zaire stared. Why are you telling me this now? Because if they expel you over Kai's lie, I'm just as guilty for not speaking up? Zaire paused, unsure if he should even believe her. You're not just messing with me. No, she said, eyes firm. I already told the assistant principal. I'll be at the follow-up hearing. That night, when Marcus came home from work, Zaire told him everything. She's going to testify? Yeah. You trust her? I don't know, but she sounded serious. Marcus nodded. Sometimes the right people stay quiet until the cost of silence gets too high. Friday's follow-up hearing felt different. Iris sat at the far end of the table, hands in her lap, voice shaking slightly. But her words were clear. They cornered him, 3-on-1. Alden threw the first punch. Zaire just defended himself. He told them to back off more than once. I saw it all. The room shifted. Even Calder stopped scribbling his notes. And you didn't say anything until now? The board member asked. Iris shook her head. I was scared. But that's not a good excuse. Her voice cracked just slightly at the end. They dismissed the room after 15 more minutes of discussion. Zaire and Marcus stepped out into the parking lot together, the winter wind sharp against their jackets. She didn't have to do that, Zaire said. No, Marcus replied, but she did. The official decision came by email the next morning. Zaire Quinn is not subject to disciplinary action. The school acknowledges evidence showing he acted in self-defense. Marcus printed it and stuck it on the fridge. But even with the hearing closed, Zaire knew things weren't just fixed. At school the following week, things were quieter. No snide remarks, no shoves. Kai didn't speak to him. He didn't even look his way. Alden returned, kept his head down. Jace switched lunch tables entirely. One afternoon, as Zaire was putting his books in his locker, Iris walked past. She didn't say anything, just raised a hand, a small wave, and kept walking. He smiled, just a little. Not everything needed words, but the air had changed, not just around Zaire, but around the school. He noticed 2 freshmen standing up for a kid getting mocked outside the gym. He saw a teacher actually step in when a student made a slick comment in class. Little shifts, nothing huge, but they were there. But even after justice, Zaire is left with something heavier than bruises. The last bell of the semester rang, and just like that, the halls flooded with noise again. Backpacks slung over shoulders, lockers slammed shut, and plans for winter break echoed off the walls. But for Zaire Quinn, none of it felt normal. He stood by his locker longer than usual, letting the wave of bodies pass him by. There was no more hearing, no threats, no whispers, but peace. That was a different story. He'd survived the storm, but surviving doesn't always mean healing. Miss Jensen, his English teacher, caught him as he was leaving. "Hey, Zaire, hold up a sec." He turned. "Yeah? We're having a student-led assembly tomorrow." One of the speakers dropped out, and a few of us thought maybe you'd consider saying something. He froze, like, "Speak? In front of the whole school?" She smiled gently. "Only if you want to. I just think people need to hear from you, not the version that's been passed around." Zaire didn't answer, just nodded once and walked off. That night, he sat on the floor of his room with a notepad in front of him, blank, pen in hand. He stared at the page for nearly an hour. Then he wrote one line. "I didn't ask to be here, but I'm not going anywhere either." The next morning, the auditorium was packed. Lights low, students restless. Teachers lined the back wall, arms folded. Zaire waited backstage until they called his name. He walked slowly to the mic. No paper, no script, just his voice. "I've been called a lot of things since I got here. Quiet, weird, dangerous. Some of y'all probably still don't know what to make of me." Some nervous laughs from the crowd. "I didn't come here to fight anybody. I came here to finish high school. I wanted what everyone else wants, to get through my day without drama." He looked around. The silence was heavy. But listening. "I'm not going to stand up here and say I'm perfect. I've made mistakes. I've gotten mad. I've been hurt. But if the only story you know about me is the one someone else told, then you never knew me at all." The gym was still. "I'm not from here. I'm from a city where keeping your head down is how you stay alive, where you learn early when to speak and when not to. And here, I've had to learn that sometimes silence just makes people talk louder." He paused, then nodded toward the teachers. "I'm grateful for the ones who listened, and the ones who didn't. I'm still here. You couldn't scare me away." Somewhere near the middle rows, Iris sat watching. She didn't move, just listened, face still. Zaire looked up once more. "I guess what I'm trying to say is, don't be so quick to label people. You don't know what they've been through, what they've had to carry, and maybe next time, instead of laughing, pushing, or posting something fake, maybe try asking." He stepped back. The mic clicked as it silenced. No applause at first, just stillness, then a single clap, then another, and then it rolled. Not wild or dramatic, just real. That day, something cracked open in Millstone High. Not everyone changed, but a few did, and sometimes that's enough to start something new. Later that afternoon, as Zaire walked through the courtyard, a younger kid stopped him. "You really trained to fight?" Zaire shrugged. "I trained to stay ready." The kid smiled. "Can you teach me?" Zaire thought for a moment. "You sure you want to learn? It's not about hurting people." The kid nodded. "I just don't want to be scared anymore." Zaire smiled just slightly. "All right then, first lesson. Stand tall, even when it feels easier to shrink." They walked side by side toward the exit gate, not as teacher and student, just two kids learning how to move forward. Sometimes the hardest battles aren't the ones with fists, but the ones where you're forced to prove you belong in a world that keeps pushing you out. Sometimes the toughest battles are the ones we fight within ourselves. Life has a way of testing us, pushing us to our limits. But if you're still standing, if you've made it this far, know that you've got something powerful inside of you. Strength isn't just about what you can do with your fists. It's about the heart you carry, the choices you make when things get hard, and the faith you hold on to, even when it feels like everything is against you. Zaire's journey reminds us that we don't always have control over the world around us, but we do have control over how we respond. Stay ready, stay strong, and remember, no matter how many times life knocks you down, there's always a way forward, and you don't have to walk that path alone. If this story spoke to your heart, take a moment to subscribe and join a community of believers who understand that faith and perseverance go hand in hand. Share this with someone who might need a reminder to stand tall, and don't forget to hit that like button. Let's spread this message of hope and strength together.